Greetings from Jerusalem. It's about 130 kilometers from the Sea of Galilee, where the episode from Matthew took place. It stands to reason that the story belongs to the initial core of the tradition, and thus, before it was put in writing in Greek, it had been transmitted orally in Hebrew or Aramaic to Jewish listeners in the land of Israel. What would draw their attention? First, the convincing realism of the story, in spite of its wondrous elements. The Lake of Galilee is known, then as well as today, for its unpredictable behavior, with sudden outbursts of dangerous tempests. In such moments, waters that a moment before were shallow could become treacherously deep. Second, a Jewish listener might recall the narrative of Exodus from Egypt, with the people of Israel safely trotting through the sea waters. This would be embellished in the rabbinic midrash with the motif of faith or trust in God, demonstrated by Nachshon, the leader of the tribe of Judah, who had bravely walked in the waters, in the waves, head deep, until the sea parted. The passage in Matthew presents the daring faith as in principle expected from everyone. But it is Jesus who is portrayed as already endowed with faith and thus capable of both saving Peter and calming the storm. Jesus is addressed here as Lord, Kyrios in Greek, which would be Rav in Hebrew, thus meaning here master or teacher. The example of faith for his followers. Impressed by Jesus' prowess as miracle worker, the disciples proclaim him the Son of God. Why such an appellation? In the Hebrew Bible, the chosen people are repeatedly described collectively as God's children or sons, as for example in Deuteronomy 14:1, I quote, "You are the sons of the Lord your God." In such collective meaning, now applied to Israel's blessed subgroup, it would feature also in Matthew 5:9, I quote, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." In the Hebrew Bible, this appellation is also used individually. Thus, the anointed kings of Israel are described as God's sons. As David in Psalm 2:7, I quote, "I will tell of that decree of the Lord. He said to me, you are my son, today I have begotten you." And as Solomon in 2 Samuel chapter 7, concerning what God says, I quote, "I will be his father, and he shall be my son." It is in that individual variation that Jesus, God's chosen, having received the anointment of the Spirit and being ready to follow his messianic vocation, is called the Son of God in the baptism episode. It's Matthew chapter 7 and parallels. In all these instances, the appellation designates God's chosen one or chosen ones. But in Matthew's tempest episode, it is specifically connected to Jesus having power over forces of nature. Such meaning of sonship is not spelled out in the scripture, but it does appear in some rabbinic traditions. A fascinating story, in all probability current already in Jesus' times, is told about a 1st century BCE Honi-the-Circle-Maker who forcibly demanded from God to give rain in the days of harsh drought, and got it. There was an outrage about the sage's too assertive approach to the Almighty. But the Pharisaic leader Shimon ben Shetach silenced the detractors, justifying Honi's attitude by portraying him as being like a son in God's household. This backdrop motif could provide the Jewish audience with necessary framework to understanding the link between Jesus' command over storm and sonship in our Matthean passage.